Hello and welcome to SquatchBot.com. I'm Darrin Smith and I have returned to the Avocado Lake Kings River area to conduct a follow-up investigation. After posting my previous video, I've received a number of comments from you guys saying that you were seeing something in the FLIR footage that I had posted. So I've returned to this area to conduct a follow-up investigation of that footage. And I have to admit, it was a bit of a challenge to get myself motivated to get out of the house and into the field to conduct this research. I think that a lot of you out there can relate to the challenges that this global pandemic has caused for so many. And not only the global pandemic, it just seems that the year 2020 has been riddled with just a series of tragedies, and it has definitely been a challenge for so many. I have a lot of friends in the Lake Charles, Louisiana area, and they were just hit by back-to-back hurricanes, and they are just in the process of trying to rebuild their homes. And of course, up here, we have the creek fire burning along the California Sierra Nevada mountains. It has burnt now over 340,000 acres, completely destroying this beautiful forested habitat, decimating these beautiful mountain communities, and absolutely obliterating my Sasquatch research area. So for those of you who are out there dealing with some sort of life challenge, just understand that you are not alone in your struggles and that we are all going through unique challenges. And that being said, if for any reason you feel overwhelmed with whatever hardship you're going through, definitely reach out for help, whether from your friends or family or with professional counseling, because it's very important in times like this that we get the help we need to get through these challenging times. And you might see the arrowhead that I've been wearing. This is a personal reminder to myself that in times like this, personal strength and perseverance is required to kind of push through these challenges. And I absolutely have that hope that there are better days yet to come. So I encourage all of you out there to hang in there, get the help you need, and have faith that things are going to get better. And I have to admit that after motivating myself to get out, I am really glad that I did so. Just being out in nature doesn't seem as smoky as it has been these past few months, and the air temperature is absolutely perfect. So I'm very excited to be out and engaged in a project, and I'm really thrilled to have you guys here along with me. To be honest, I'm still getting accustomed to creating content on YouTube and still trying to understand the channel. I wasn't planning on making a lot of videos. I really didn't think that I would have any sort of charisma or interesting enough content that would inspire people to join me on the quest. However, I did notice that I have almost 3,000 subscribers, and I can't tell you how amazing that was when I discovered this, because as I mentioned, I didn't think that I was going to have a lot of people interested in my channel, and to just see that there are a lot of people out there that are interested in what I'm doing, it really does inspire me to get out and to continue my efforts. And I want to thank all of you for all of your love and support. It truly has been inspiring for me, so thank you. One thing I love about sharing my research with you guys here on YouTube is the collective of like-minded individuals that we are creating here. Now, I read all the comments that you guys leave behind, and I would say that there is a lot of very positive interaction happening among you guys. And I think that is very helpful in our quest here. And I very much appreciate you guys leaving those messages and interacting well together. And one message I received was from Tad Ben Allen, who was wondering if the Sasquatch were good swimmers. And yes, Tad, surprisingly, the Sasquatch are great swimmers, and there are a lot of reports coming out of the Pacific Northwest of the Sasquatch being spotted swimming between the various islands in the area and the mainland. So yes, there is a lot of evidence to support that the Sasquatch are good swimmers, and that may be one of the reasons we're not finding a lot of the physical evidence that we're looking for here around Avocado Lake and the Kings River. Perhaps they are getting into the river and either swimming or just wading through it. Whether they're doing it intentionally not to leave that physical evidence behind, it's definitely debatable. But you see on the opposite side of the river here, that bank over there is covered with these large river stones, and that medium really does not support the sort of evidence that we're looking for. Meaning a Sasquatch could literally walk through that environment and they would leave very little physical evidence just because of the medium for which they're walking through. So you can kind of see the challenges researchers are faced with when looking for that physical evidence. Generally, the environments that the Sasquatch are moving through just is not conducive for that physical evidence that we're looking for. So I'm going handheld here just so that you guys can get a really good overview of what we're looking at here at Avocado Lake and along the Kings Canyon. So spinning the camera around, we have the Kings River coming down here, and you can see, look at that vegetation there. Look how thick it is. Easily a Sasquatch can hunker down in there and they can remain there undetected for long periods of time. And just coming down out of that vegetation along the Kings River, we have the crops. And you see how easy it would be for them to move along the river here, get up the embankments and get into those crops to raid the various oranges. And there's a lot of corn in the area, a lot of apples. But you can see the strategic advantage the Sasquatch has when raiding these various orchards that are here nestled along the Sierra Nevada mountains here around Avocado Lake and the Kings River. And I'll zoom in here just so you can really see that thick vegetation right up against the water and right up against the orchards there. I know there's a large number of individuals out there who believe that the Sasquatch are some sort of supernatural being, whether a spirit animal, extraterrestrial, or interdimensional being, and that they can dematerialize and rematerialize at will, or they can actually turn themselves into an orb of light and float through an environment without leaving any physical evidence. Now, I do try to keep an open mind to the possibilities because I've had some very unusual happenings occur while investigating the Sasquatch phenomenon. As you've seen in previous videos, I've had unexplainable across-the-board technology failure when I believe the Sasquatch were in close proximity to me. I also saw a ball of light when I was up on a Bigfoot expedition up in Oregon, where a ball of bluish light floated past my tent in the middle of the night. And I have no understanding what that ball of light was. I don't think it was ball lightning because it was moving so slowly. So I absolutely acknowledge that I have experienced some very unusual happenings while conducting Sasquatch research. And I absolutely keep an open mind as to the possibilities because frankly, we don't know what these creatures are. So that being said, I do try to keep a grounded approach when conducting my research. I am looking for that physical evidence because we know Sasquatch will leave footprints. We found them countless times before. We found hair samples and other physical evidence that they are of flesh and blood in all intents and purposes. So I am out looking for that physical evidence. I'm looking for the tracks. I'm looking for the hair. I'm looking for any sort of tangible physical proof of the Sasquatch existence. And I think it's very important as researchers that we continue that quest because I believe that the Sasquatch are leaving that evidence and it's just a matter of us finding it. I'm adding this notation just for reference as there are a lot of reports of Sasquatch being spotted around industrial areas where energy is being produced or distributed. And in this area around Avocado Lake and the Kings River, there are a number of wind-powered generators along the river's edge, as well as a number of solar collectors and hydroelectric plants. There's a number of researchers out there who believe the Sasquatch intentionally hide their tracks or not leave them in the first place. These researchers believe that the Sasquatch are actually walking in water sources such as rivers and creeks with the sole intent of not leaving any footprints. And I find this concept intriguing because it is incredibly difficult to find the physical evidence we need to substantiate the Sasquatch are moving through an area. However, I don't necessarily believe that the Sasquatch are doing this intentionally. I think it is just based on their movement patterns. For one, it is clear that in this area at least, the Sasquatch are moving along the Kings River. Whether they're actually in the water or not, they don't seem to be leaving a lot of physical evidence as they are moving through that area. And you look at an example here, we have a forest floor that is absolutely littered with heavy vegetation and fallen leaves. And you can see that animals are moving through here. You can see there is a game trail of sorts moving through this brush. But it's very difficult to identify what animal is moving through the area just because you're not getting the detailed tracks that you need to make that determination. So whether the Sasquatch are doing it intentionally or whether it's just based on their movement patterns, it is difficult to find that physical evidence that the Sasquatch are moving through an area. And I think it's very important that we spend a lot of time trying to find that evidence. So a lot of you at home are under the impression that as I'm moving through an area, there's an abundance of light around me. And that's because of the night vision that is on this camera. Generally, when I'm moving through an environment, I don't want to put off a lot of illumination because I do want to move around with a little bit of stealth. And I don't want to contaminate the environment with an abundance of light. So generally, I'm not using a flashlight and I'm relying on the illumination that I'm getting from this camera's night vision. Now, I'm going to turn off the night vision here so that you get a better understanding of the environment that I generally find myself in when I'm out in the field. Okay, so there you have it. It is absolutely pitch black out here tonight. We do have a little moon illumination, but not much. Now I'm going to turn on a flashlight here so that you can see me already. There I am, probably not in focus, but there you go. I've got a bright flashlight on and it really does make it difficult to kind of keep my eyes adjusted. So I'm going to turn it off here and I'm going to turn on the night vision again. Okay, there we go. Let's see if we can get ourselves in focus. Okay, there we go. So as I just demonstrated with you, at the moment it is absolutely pitch dark. I can see a little bit of illumination because I can fold out the camera has a screen that I can look at, and it will show me kind of what's going on in my immediate vicinity. So I'm going to show you how that works. So as I'm moving around the forest, I'm going handheld here. Now as I'm moving through the woods, I am seeing what you're seeing now. I'm seeing the illumination of the brush in front of me, and I can move through an environment just using the illumination of the night vision here. On rare occasions, I may turn on the flashlight, and I will do it here so that you can see how it affects my surroundings. So there we go. I've got the flashlight on, and now I can see a lot more of my surroundings. So that is basically how I'm moving around when I'm out doing Sasquatch research. I just like to keep my eyes accustomed to the moon glow and the natural light around me. The artificial light just really detracts from the my overall awareness of the environment. I'm also using the FLIR quite heavily just to get a very good understanding of my environment that I'm moving through. And as I mentioned, I use a night vision on the camera. I can see it on the vision screen here. I can see exactly what you guys are seeing at home, and that is how I'm moving through basically an environment. But every once in a while you'll see me turn on the flashlight just because I need more information of my surroundings or what's going on in my surroundings. And you saw that last time I was investigating the area when I got that god-awful stench and I heard something moving through the brush. At that point, the FLIR had already gone out. I had lost the battery on that, so I was in the dark in that regard, and I needed more information about what was going on in my surroundings. So I turned on the flashlight, and again, with the flashlight and with the night vision, I can really see quite a ways just using those two sources there. So that's what I was relying on, or actually it was a fallback because the FLIR had already gone out, and that is why I turned on the flashlight. I was trying to see what was in my surroundings because there was some urgency. Smelling that god-awful stench and also hearing the movement through the brush definitely implied that I was not alone. So at that point it was necessary to get the flashlight turned on. So we are back in that area where I smelt that god-awful stench the last time I was here, and also where we caught some interesting FLIR footage. Here, take a look. What created the intrigue was this figure in the background that seems to move dramatically forward and into the cover of heavy brush. Clearly the object in the foreground is a tree. That's branches and foliage was obstructing the figure in the background. During the clip, the camera is moving to and fro, but as it begins to pan left, the figure in the background seems to take a dramatic step forward, in a manner that suggests it is an animate being and not an environmental anomaly. I have since returned to the area to see if I could locate exactly where the FLIR footage was recorded. However, it was very difficult to pinpoint the exact location because the night I captured the FLIR footage, I was moving around a lot for significant distances in total darkness. However, I did discover the most likely location the footage was obtained was on the edge of a dried up overflow. I spent a considerable amount of time moving along this drainage because it offered an expanded view of the area, and what I found intriguing was the embankment on the opposite side of this drainage, because looking at the footage, it does appear the figure in question was moving up a hillside. Though this footage is absolutely inconclusive, I do find it intriguing in the sense it does support that the figure was very likely an animate being and not an environmental anomaly. I was hearing movement in the brush that evening, and I also encountered that horrible stench that smelt like rotting meat. Clearly, I was not alone that evening, but the question remains, what was it that was moving through the brush? And if the figure in question was a creature of some kind, what was it? So it has definitely been a quiet night tonight. I haven't smelt anything unusual and I haven't heard anything out of the ordinary. So we're definitely getting around that 4 o'clock, probably even 4:30 ballpark, and I've been at it for hours, and it just really has been quiet tonight. So I've got a lot planned for tomorrow, so I am definitely gonna call it a night at this point and head back to my vehicle, and we will get back at it again tomorrow. This morning I was up early and heading along Highway 180 into the Sierra Nevada mountains. My destination is a small town and ranching community of Dunlap. Legend has it, this tiny town has had a macabre past, and many from this gruesome history were supposedly buried in unmarked graves in a local cemetery. A cemetery which is claimed as being the most haunted graveyard in California. The story goes there was a band of satanic worshippers who lived in Dunlap in the mid-1800s. They practiced black magic in a dilapidated shack on the outskirts of town with the hopes of conjuring up supernatural powers. Though the cult eventually disbanded, the followers all requested that upon their deaths they would be buried in unmarked graves in the Dunlap Cemetery, where many believe you can still hear their restless spirits call out from the graves, or feel their icy breath upon your neck. Though the locals would claim these stories are absolute rubbish, I decided to investigate the cemetery and the surrounding area. There have been a lot of reports filed of Sasquatch being spotted in cemeteries, and I have received a number of accounts from the local Native Americans claiming the Sasquatch are protectors of sacred burial grounds. And this area along the California Sierras is the perfect entry point into the San Joaquin Valley and into the various crops nestled along the foothills. So I've received some very good intel as to where the Sasquatch may be, and right now I am patrolling the areas around Avocado Lake, kind of keeping those areas under surveillance. My hope is to catch a glimpse of the Sasquatch either raiding the various orchards in the area or moving into those locations. So that's what I'm doing for the bulk of this evening, is just kind of patrolling the area and monitoring these crops around Avocado Lake, and also the Avocado Lake area where we're getting a lot of activity and where I think the Sasquatch generally hunker down during the day. I'm also FLIRing the mountainsides, the foothills leading down into the Avocado Lake area, because although my belief is that they are moving along the Kings River, I do want to kind of keep an eye on the foothills surrounding the Avocado Lake area, because one thing that has become abundantly clear, not only through my research, but a lot of research other investigators are doing, is that the Sasquatch seem to know our limitations when it comes to our night vision. So oftentimes they will come into very close proximity to us under the cover of night. So there is a chance that the Sasquatch will be just coming down these foothills, even though there are not a lot of trees, there's not a lot of cover for them to hide under. Maybe they will go with the assumptions that we can't see well at night, and they're in the clear to be coming down these foothills in the cover of night. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm patrolling the area. I'll probably be doing this through most of the night and early morning, and my hope is to catch the Sasquatch as they're moving from the Avocado Lake area into the crops, or catch them actually in the various orchards that are surrounding Avocado Lake. So the parabolic microphone is an absolute invaluable tool for a Sasquatch researcher because you're able to hear movement. And as you saw in the previous video, I was actually able to follow a Sasquatch through the woods using the parabolic microphone. So the parabolic is absolutely an invaluable tool because it really does give you an opportunity to pinpoint movement. The only problem in this environment is the moving water from the Kings River, because the parabolic is so good at amplifying the sounds in the surrounding area that it really is difficult to hear anything other than the moving water. So that is one Achilles heel when it comes to the parabolic microphone. But if you're in a quiet environment, away from moving water especially, you're really able to hear a lot of detailed sounds in the surrounding environment. And it really is, in my opinion, one of the best tools to have as a Sasquatch researcher. I continued my patrols of the area until nearly sunrise, focusing my efforts in the areas I was encouraged to investigate by the locals: the nearby foothills, strategically placed orchards and crops, and of course Avocado Lake and the Kings River. My hope was to catch the Sasquatch on the FLIR as they moved from the concealment of the thick vegetation around Avocado Lake and moved into the nearby orchards. However, I did not detect any animal activity during my investigation. I do, however, very much like this surveillance strategy, and I'm pleased the locals have been supportive of my efforts. I know the Sasquatch are venturing into this area around Avocado Lake, and I will definitely be returning to this area to continue my efforts to capture them on camera. Though the FLIR footage we came to investigate will likely remain inconclusive, I am fairly confident it is of an animate being and not an environmental anomaly. The subject makes a dramatic move forward that I do not believe could have been the result of the camera's movement, and the upward angle the subject was moving was consistent with the hillside environment I discovered while investigating the area. Based on my personal encounters and research, I am 100% certain the Sasquatch are real, and although I do acknowledge the various theories as to what these creatures are, and I do try to keep an open mind, I also try to stay grounded with my investigation approach. These creatures are leaving behind physical evidence that will help us track and identify them, and I think it is up to us to find it. I'm Darrin Smith, and I'll see you here next time on SquatchSpot.com.